invest in this mutual fund.
Subscribe now to Individual Investor for only $22.95. In each monthly issue, you'll find in-depth articles on stocks and mutual funds you won't see anywhere else. And we'll send you free.
You can during Redeker's Thomasville Gallery Sale, where beautiful Thomasville furniture is on sale this week at...
And give it a high-grade finish. Now only $199 at Mako.
Live at 5 from the Iowa State Fair.
Good morning. UN weapons inspectors went back to work in Baghdad this morning and say they saw what they wanted. Still, tensions are high amid reports that the U.S. is prepared to bomb Iraq. Tensions are also high in Washington, where President Bush is trying to refute reports that he's setting up a confrontation just to help his re-election.
I totally deny that. I totally deny we're trying to pick a fight. And I'm totally deny we're trying to pick a fight for political purposes.
The latest showdown with Iraq comes as Republicans are poised for their 35th National Convention. It begins in Houston today, Monday, August 17, 1992.
From NBC News, this is Today with Bryant, Gumbel, and Catherine Couric.
You're looking at a live shot from inside the Houston Astrodome. The Astros are away, the Republicans are in town, getting set for a big four-game series to conclude with the official nomination of George Bush for president. Good morning, welcome to Today on a Monday morning, and look who found her way back home.
I'm back. No worse for the wear. I wish I could say the same for you, Bryant. I don't know if you all can see this, but Bryant has a cast from here to here.
It winds up there somewhere. Anyway,
poor thing.
I know, it means I can't.
Oh, that's great. A deadly weapon.
You know, I checked the calendar. The last time we did this together was back on July the 10th.
I know. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Yeah. And I'm so disappointed. I missed the beard. I got back from Barcelona. No one was saying, hi, how were the Olympics? Did you have a great time? They all said to me, did you see Bryant's beard?
Did you enjoy Barcelona?
I did. I had a really good time.
You did a nice job.
Yeah, I keep thinking I'm going to head up to Montjuic, but that's over, right?
That's all right. Welcome back.
Thanks.
We have a lot of convention-related news to get to, but first a check of events in Iraq, where UN inspectors were back at work this morning searching for evidence of weapons. Without confrontation, they apparently saw what they wanted to see and are calling the mission a success. For the latest, we go to NBC's Ed Rabel, who's monitoring developments in Baghdad. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Bryant. Iraq said it wanted to avoid a violent confrontation with the West, and it may have, based on the statements of the UN inspection team leader here. He pronounced his inspection tour a success and said that relations with Baghdad are completely normal. The UN team leader refused to identify the exact site to be inspected today when the team left their hotel. The secretiveness imposed by the UN seemed directed at avoiding a public showdown with the Iraqis. Reporters weren't allowed to accompany the team. When they came back 4 hours later, the team leader, Nikita Smitovich, still wouldn't reveal whether they had tried to get into a ministry building or whether there had been a confrontation. But he said his inspections were completed and that the team would leave Iraq as scheduled tomorrow.
We have to write a report, and we'll spend several days writing a report and then assessing the results in New York.
Bryant, we don't know whether the Iraqis relinquished and allowed the UN inspection team inside a government ministry office, but it certainly looks like that's the case. Bryant?
Ed, they'll leave as scheduled. Any idea when they're scheduled to come back?
No, a completely different team will come back, but they have to file a report, and that report takes a few days to write. Then the report has to be submitted to the public from New York. So it could be several days before a new team arrives.
Okay. Ed Rabel in Baghdad, thank you. If Saddam Hussein had refused to cooperate with those UN inspectors, officials said the United States was ready to launch airstrikes against Iraq. NBC's Fred Francis at the Pentagon with the latest from there. Fred, does that mean no military action?
No, not necessarily so, Brian, as this UN inspection team gets prepared to leave without forcing the issue to access U.S. facilities. That doesn't really mean that this crisis is over. NBC News has learned that small units of U.S. Special Forces troops are gathering in the region with helicopters and pilots. The mission to protect U.S. airmen who might be shot down, enforcing a different U.S. resolution. Secretary Cheney was hinting at that when he outlined U.S. resolve yesterday.
We continue to maintain a significant military presence in the region. We have said over and over and over again that Saddam must comply with those UN Security Council resolutions, and that if he doesn't comply, We're maintaining the capacity to insist on his compliance, to compel him to comply.
The administration's plan to confront Saddam began in secret last week when the Pentagon sent an air battle staff to Saudi Arabia to take control of the U.S. arsenal there. The U.S. and its allies decided last week it was time to warn Iraq to stop flying its combat planes against Shiite rebels in the south, a violation of UN Resolution 688. Sources say the Iraqis will be told not to fly south of the 32nd parallel, not to fly planes or helicopters, or they will be shot down. Interceptors from the carrier Independence are slated to enforce the warning once it is issued. Administration analysts feel that shooting down an Iraqi plane has few risks and high gains, both militarily and politically. The enforcement of UN Resolution 688 prohibiting the Iraqi government from attacking its minorities, its population, awaits a final consensus from U.S. allies. So, Bryant, it is expected that this crisis atmosphere will continue throughout the week.
All right, Fred Francis, the Pentagon, thank you. President Bush will, of course, be keeping a close watch on developments in Iraq today as he heads to Houston for the Republican National Convention. As we heard, Mr. Bush vehemently denies trying to force a confrontation with Baghdad just to boost his standing in the polls. Jim Miklaszewski has more on that from the White House. Good morning, Mick.
Good morning, Bryant. There's no question that there are some within the administration who would like to divert attention away from the president's domestic woes. But the president gathered here last night at the White House with his top national security and military chiefs to lay out plans to take on the enemy, Saddam Hussein, not Bill Clinton.
President Bush did not dispute reports that some kind of military action against Iraq may be in the works. He angrily denied he was out to provoke Saddam Hussein to boost his own political ratings at home.
I totally deny that. I totally deny we're trying to pick a fight. And I'm totally down. We're trying to pick a fight for political purposes. If that was in the report, I really am angry about it.
But it's clear Bush needs help from somewhere. As Bush heads off today for Houston, there was still more bad news. Even in his adopted home state of Texas, Bush trails Clinton by 17 points in the polls. In still one more TV interview, Bush declared war.
So now I'm going to general quarters, and I'm going to link the sorry record of this Congress, particularly those that control it, right into my opponent, because it's fair and it's right.
But Bush must first do battle within his own ranks. Abortion rights Republicans still oppose the party's hardline anti-abortion platform. And there's still serious disagreement over what to do about the economy. Conservative Republicans want Bush to call for a tax cut.
But I think if the president commits himself to an agenda of economic growth and tax reductions for most Americans, the country will reward him.
But with record deficits looming, the Senate's top Republican warns there has to be some way to pay for any cut in taxes.
But a tax cut by itself, as some of the supply-siders might advocate, would be bad medicine.
And when it comes to making promises about taxes, Bush just might have a credibility problem.
Read my lips.
Bush aides say he will indeed lay out a new economic recovery plan, but it's unclear whether it will include specific tax cuts or general promises.
The fact is, Bryant, after working on the economy for 4 years now, we're told that the White House still hasn't decided exactly what to put in this economic recovery plan, with only 4 days left before the president's big speech.
Mick, real quick, harkening back to Iraq, is there a clear-cut agreement at the White House that a strike against Iraq would benefit and not hurt the president?
I think, well, they don't talk in those terms, but there is some disagreement on whether it would help or would hurt. You know, by going against Saddam right now, it would raise the specter that he's still there in the first place, thumbing his nose at the U.S.
All right, Mick, thanks. Though events in Iraq may yet impact the presidential race, Bill Clinton claims to see no gamesmanship or politics in recent events. At home in Little Rock on Sunday, Clinton said he would support the use of force against Iraq if it came to that, and he downplayed speculation the president might be trying to provoke a confrontation.
We know of no example where the commander-in-chief has used or would use the awesome power of military action for political purposes. I'm not going to second-guess whatever decision is made based on speculation. I think that we just have to wait and see what happens, and I want my position to be clear. I've always said, and I say again, Saddam Hussein must comply, and we can't rule out the use of force. It ought to be done in cooperation with the UN And I would think that they would have something to say about the timing.
Clinton said he expects the Republicans will hit him pretty hard, his words, in Houston. Aides say he'll be ready to hit back. Meanwhile, the numbers continue to go Clinton's way. The latest poll shows him leading the president by 17 points. And on the key issue of which candidate could bring about real change in the country, only 15% said President Bush would bring about that change. 63% said that Clinton would. Now for more politics and news from the Republican convention in Houston, Katie?
Brian, George Bush is trying to avoid becoming the fourth incumbent in this century to lose his re-election bid. As we just noted, current polls show him anywhere from 17 to 23 points behind Bill Clinton, which means the president could use a home run at this week's Republican National Convention in the Astrodome. NBC's Lisa Myers is there with a report on just what's at stake in Houston. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Katie. Well, obviously the stakes here are quite high. Jonathan Bush described his brother's current political predicament this way. He says it's as though George Bush has been shackled, locked in a trunk with 8 big chains wrapped around it. People think he's gone for good. But Jonathan predicts that his brother, like Houdini, will make a miraculous escape. If so, Bush will have to remove at least a few of those chains during this convention. Challenge number 1, change the campaign debate.
He can't make a start on changing the subject from the last 4 years into what should be done in the future. Then I think he faces defeat in the fall. So it's that important.
Focusing the debate on the future is complicated by the fact that tonight's highlight is a speech by an 81-year-old former president, Ronald Reagan. But that is designed to deal with another of Bush's problems, the fact that he now has the support of only about 2/3 of his conservative base. Bush aides also would like to divert attention from the party platform, which is well to the right of the president, as well as most Republican officials. Senate Republican leader Robert Dole already has run away from it.
And most platforms are not, do not become a litmus test for those of us in the party.
Republican Chairman Rich Bond downplays the plank, advocating a constitutional amendment to outlaw abortion.
But I tend to doubt that in the first 90 days that George Bush would put that as one of the 3 or 4 things he wants to accomplish in his second term.
What matters most here is what George Bush says Thursday night and how he says it. His most difficult task, convincing voters he is the man who can fulfill their appetite for change.
He has to convince the American people that the next Bush administration will focus on domestic policy, will have a strategy for change, and will be ready to shed a little blood to accomplish that.
Some believe Bush needs to do something bold. His aides are considering some new economic proposals, including a tax cut. But the president also has to begin restoring voters' confidence in him personally, to revitalize his image and convince voters he's ready to lead this country.
People aren't voting for Mr. Clinton. You can see that if you look in the back of the poll. They're voting against Mr. Bush. And unless Mr. Bush does something to cause people to feel better about him, attacking the opponents isn't going to do him any good.
But if there is one constant about George Bush, it is that he performs best in a crisis. Every time he's been under political duress, Bush has risen to the occasion. The question, Katie, is can he do it one more time?
Okay, Lisa Myers in Houston, thank you so much. The convention begins today on the heels of last week's shakeup at the White House, which brought James Baker in and moved Sam Skinner to a ceremonial role as head of the Republican Party. Just a little while ago, I spoke with Skinner, who's already in Houston, and I asked him just how nervous the Republicans are.
Well, I think the Republicans are obviously nervous. We're behind in the polls. We're closing that gap very significantly, but given the fact that we're behind, everybody's a little nervous. But most of it all, I think people just want to get going, and this week gives us a chance to get going. So that nervousness will disappear real quick.
What do you think Jim Baker will be able to do for the president that you were not?
Well, Jim has responsibility for both the campaign and the White House. He will be one voice, and both those functions will be operating under one person. He, of course, has experience as a national campaign manager in 5 campaigns, so that'll help quite a bit. In addition, he's been White House Chief of Staff. So he was the logical choice when the president decided to combine those 2 roles in one job last week.
If you were doing some Monday morning quarterbacking, in hindsight, what would you say went wrong during your tenure at the White House?
Well, I don't know that anything went wrong. I think, number one, the economy didn't perform like we wanted it to. Number two, Pat Buchanan got in the race, and that surprised us. Number three, Ross Perot got in the race, and that surprised us. And number four, I think the restructuring that the president has made probably should have been done from the very beginning, and that's putting one person in charge who has both campaign and White House experience. And Jim Baker brings that experience to both jobs, and he's the only person in the country that has that kind of experience, and that's why I recommended to the president that we make this move several months ago, and I'm glad Jim is willing to do it. It's a great personal sacrifice on his part.
Was there a great deal of infighting between the administration and the campaign staff?
Well, in politics, there's always infighting, and I won't call it infighting. There's always commentary when things aren't going well. It always falls on the chief of staff's desk. The buck stops at his desk as well as the president's. So in all respects, I think as the numbers were turning down, as a lot of these things were happening that we didn't anticipate happening, and most importantly, as all the candidates were attacking the president and he had decided to hold till the convention, it probably makes a lot of people very frustrated. But we're very excited about the opportunity to take the president's record to the American people, clearly to distinguish the president's positions and the Clinton-Gore ticket positions, and there's a wide gap there. And number three, to take Governor Clinton's record as governor for 12 years to the American people. And once we do that, all of that nervousness is going to disappear. And that's why this gap will close very quickly. And we'll come out of this convention in good shape to close a gap of probably 8 to 12 points between now and November 3rd.
Rather than focus on the president's record, are you going to be going very negative on Bill Clinton's record?
You know, that's one of the things that really concerns me. I hear everybody talking about going negative, and yes, the president's going negative. The president is going to discuss Governor Clinton's positions on the issues. The president is going to discuss an incumbent governor's 12-year record. This man has never served in the private sector to any significant degree. He's been in government since he's 28 years old. His record is legitimate comment. How do you measure someone who's wants to be president of the United States if you don't look at his record as a public official, especially his last 12 years as governor, which I might add, his record is abysmal.
Let me get back to Jim Baker, if I could, for a moment. Last week, Al Gore said that the Baker move was, quote, a sign of extraordinary political panic. My guess is you wouldn't agree with that assessment.
Well, I think it's a good, sound judgment. If you're in a tight race, and we are, if you're behind, as we are, if you see that the economy is moving forward, but not at the degree we would like, and you're going to push very hard, and if you have someone like Jim Baker, who's been, I'd call him, and I refer to him as a Pro Bowl quarterback. This is a man that's been with the president for 35 years. It's one of his best friends, if it's not his best friend in the whole world. The president's in for a very tough re-election race, and you're going to want your friend of 35 years next to you, especially when he's won 5 Pro Bowls or won 5 Super Bowls, and he's also the only person in the country that's done both jobs, and you're combining it into one. So I don't think it's an act of, I think it's an act of good judgment rather than an act of panic.
Some people say it's an act of bad judgment taking Jim Baker out of the State Department during such a crucial time in foreign affairs in terms of Yugoslavia, the Middle East, and Iraq. Are you concerned about that?
Not at all, for a couple reasons. Number one, I've had the opportunity to work with Jim Baker and General Scowcroft at the White House, but also I've had the opportunity to work with the acting secretary, Larry Eagleburger. The president and many others feel that he's probably the most competent deputy secretary of state we've ever had. He'll be acting Secretary of State until for several months, and Jim Baker, as Chief of Staff, will still have the option to participate in policy issues and policy decisions as Chief of Staff. So he's really going to be doing some of the work he's been doing at State from a little different position. And when you combine Larry Eagleburger with Jim Baker, with General Scowcroft, and with President Bush, you've really got the best of all worlds.
There's been some speculation, Mr. Skinner, that during his acceptance speech, President Bush is going to unveil a dramatic tax cut. Can you give us any insight into that?
Well, I think what you'll see the president do in his speech is really define his position and what he wants to do in the second term. He will define what he stands for and what our party stands for. There will be a big distinction between what President Bush stands for and what Governor Clinton stands for, and he'll make that distinction. He'll be able to compare, the American people will be able to compare the difference between the two candidates. All of that will allow us to begin to focus on the issues. And of course, there'll be some things in the economic area that will be significantly different than the positions Governor Clinton has taken. The president certainly will not raise taxes in his speech. He clearly will not increase the deficit or not address the deficit like Governor Clinton has done. And he will clearly talk about spending and decreases in spending, not increases in spending, as Governor Clinton has. And that's why in the economic area you're going to see a real wide difference. And I hope everybody watches on Thursday night.
Before we go, let me ask you to comment about reports over the weekend that said there was a chance that the United States might provoke an attack or some kind of confrontation with Iraq in an effort to bolster the president's popularity. What's your reaction?
Well, I don't know if absurd is strong enough. The president takes a great deal of pride in his record as a leader throughout the world, most respected leader in the world. He never would mix politics and foreign policy. He never, as someone who served in combat, would take steps that would endanger lives of American troops or any troops or individuals for political purposes. So it really is absurd. There's never been any discussion of that, any kind of action the president would take with anybody in the political sector, and it's just off base, so to speak. It's just off bounds. We just don't do it. The president doesn't discuss his options really until he decides what to do, but never is it discussed with politics in mind.
Sam Skinner in Houston, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for having me.
And we'll be back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
25 years ago, we started as a great mattress store, and today, Slumberland is that and much, much more. And this Saturday, during our 25th birthday sale, get this gorgeous queen-size sleigh bed for just $2.99. Fabulous mattress deals, every model, every brand, and our lowest price ever on a complete top-grain leather group. Plus, get a free airfare certificate for 2 to Orlando with qualifying purchase. Slumberland Furniture. We'll show you more. We'll save you more than ever before.
It's that time of year again, when families across America get together just for the fun of it. To help them enjoy these precious moments, Pearl Vision introduces Family Eye Care Time, where there are now special savings for children, parents, and grandparents. Just write your own coupon and get a second pair free for you or your child. Call 1-800-YES-EYES for the location nearest you. It's Family Eye Care Time at Pearl, because nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Last night, Russ Beeler, owner of Lake Edna KFC, opened Hammer's eyes to new popcorn chicken. Delicious, crispy, bite-sized morsels. A whole new way to enjoy the Colonel's chicken. Come on, Hammer. The problem was, no one could get him to go on until the last piece was gone.
Now that's pop.
New KFC popcorn chicken. Treat yourself for $1.99, the band just $5.99 in Lake Edna or your neck of the woods.
Looking for low prices on furniture, bedding, and gifts? Look underneath. That's where low is.
What do low prices look like anyway?
I don't know, but people sure like them. You'll always find low prices at Dixie's Furniture, like 3-piece living room groups for $599.99 and 5-piece dining room sets for $239.99, or black and brass wall units for $99.99, 4-drawer chest $39, bunk bed with mattress $129, and day beds $89. Low prices are easy to find.
Dixie's Furniture has low prices everywhere.
Dixie's Furniture, 1515 East Euclid, Des Moines.
Nice to see that as they convene down at the Astrodome, the Republicans do know what to watch in the morning, have it up there on the big screen. Nice to do a live show again, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm having fun.
Yeah, we got to stay here another hour and a half, though.
Oh, boy.
Don't go away. Come on back in just a moment. We'll talk with George Bush.
Yours truly here picking up free shoebox cards at Hallmark. Cute. Yeah, right now you get one free when you buy 2, which, as you mathematicians know, means you get 2 free for buying 4, and 3 for 6, and 4 for... Well, you get the drift. I mean, what a deal. Sure, it means licking a lot of envelopes, but dogs love to lick, right, Floyd?
Get a free shoebox card when you buy 2 at Hallmark, and check out all the other great values, too.
Good job, Floyd. Now you can get started on the stamps.
Right now, lowest prices of the year on 92 Ramsey Pontiacs.
August is the best time of year to buy a new Pontiac. Tremendous model year closeout savings.
We have Iowa's biggest selection of 1992 Grand Prix.
We have dozens of new 92 Grand Ams, all at factory closeout prices. The 92 Sunbird is the perfect first car.
The 92 Transport, the perfect family vehicle. And I'll break my arm to sell you one.
See us today at 97th and Hickman. Thanks for watching.
Where is everyone going in such a hurry? They don't want to miss the Van and Connie TV show live from the Iowa State Fair. The Van and Connie crew is packing up the gear and moving out to the fairgrounds for 7 sensational live Van and Connie TV shows, with the promise, as always, to bring the most unique coverage of the State Fair ever. So head out to the fairgrounds and watch the Van and Connie show, or watch it in the comfort of your own home. Don't miss the Van and Connie TV show live from the fairgrounds weekdays at 10 a.m. during the Iowa State Fair on TV 13.
This 24-hour news update is brought to you by your local Ford dealer.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning, 17th day of August. Another cool morning across central Iowa at 7:25, 55 degrees, a partly cloudy sky. More on our week's forecast with meteorologist Scott Mayo in just a moment. First in the news, the National Republican Convention, of course, kicks off in Houston today, with Iowa Republicans hoping the event will spur enthusiasm for the fall campaign. Governor Terry Branstad is leading the Iowa delegation at the GOP convention. So far, everything has gone smoothly for the delegates. They spent Sunday checking in at their hotel and attending functions in their honor. But there is some infighting among the Iowa delegates. GOP moderates are complaining about being shut out of platform debates by the conservative majority. One moderate called the Iowa group, quote, a bunch of right-wing radicals who will turn off the average voter, unquote. Details have not been disclosed, but negotiations for unions and the U.S. West Phone Company say they have reached agreement on a new contract. Local communications workers were at Union Hall well into the night with picket signs ready just in case of a strike, in case it had been called. Ratification will take at least 2 weeks. The old contract expired at midnight Saturday, but there was no walkout as negotiations continued yesterday. Now, the agreement covers 37,000 phone company workers, 1,400 of which are in Iowa. Their contract expired late last week. The Des Moines religious community is continuing to speak out against the alleged war crimes in Bosnia. Hundreds of Christians, Jews, and Muslims gathered at the federal building over the weekend to denounce reports of murder and inhumane treatment at Bosnian detention camps. The group called for immediate inspections of the camps and a full investigation into the alleged atrocities. Religious leaders have been circulating petitions urging the UN to take action.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, or even unbelievers, not even animals, deserves to be exterminated.
Now, in the last few days, they say that they have collected hundreds of signatures. We do want to check out our forecast. We're going to head over to Scott Mayo after this short break. Stay with us.
Hey, America, did you know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of America's top 10 selling vehicles are Ford? And now your Ford dealer's saying thanks with the Ford factory authorized clearance. Option package discounts and cash back let you save on every new Ford. Save on Taurus, Explorer, Ranger, Escort, and F-Series pickups. It's the factory authorized clearance with an all-American lineup. Only at your Ford dealer.
Keeps getting a little bit cooler out there. 55 degrees now in the capital city, partly cloudy skies. Our humidity in the 80% bracket. Southeast winds at 5 miles an hour. The barometer fairly steady. Fairly nice day to get out there and drive to work on Monday. Not bad here around central parts of Iowa. But out to the west, we get more humidity and rain showers from north to south, from Texas all the way up into parts of western Minnesota. And we find some pretty strong thunderstorms developing up here along a frontal boundary. That will continually push to the south and east and bring us a chance of rain tonight and tomorrow. And as that frontal system comes through, first come the clouds, then the rain, then the cooler temperatures on the backside of that, but that'll eventually be probably around Wednesday. That's where the front lies right now, an area of low pressure up there, really sparking on the showers and thunderstorms, still bringing a lot of moisture up from the south, but high pressure over us right now will create a fairly nice day until at least later this evening when we see an increase in clouds. These are the conditions outside right now. Waterloo, 49 degrees. Fort Dodge and Spencer, each with 60. Council Bluffs, 62. And Burlington with 56 degrees. Forecast for today is scattered clouds, 78 degrees. That's where we should eventually top out. Showers remaining in the far west. Right now, showers in Pottawatomie County, Cass County, and Adams County, but they should eventually dissipate. For tonight, increasing clouds, 61 for the overnight low. Scattered rain showers beginning in the northwest part of the state and then moving right on through. And then some morning showers for Tuesday, partly cloudy skies, 79 degrees for a high temperature. So still about 5 degrees below normal. Here's a look at the extended forecast, or at least the extended outlook. 80 degrees on Wednesday and partly cloudy skies, a chance of showers on Thursday and 80, and on Friday 79. We'll have your next update in a half an hour.
Free checking with no hidden charges?
When pigs fly.
Norwest Bank introduces free checking the way you want it. There's no minimum balance and no monthly service charge.
How do you do that?
And there's no limit on the number of checks you can write.
Well, wonders never cease.
And the offer is good as long as your account is at your Iowa Norwest Bank.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Talk about bringing home the bacon.
It's just one of our unbelievable products, only from your Norwest Bank.
The Van and Connie TV show live from the Iowa State Fair, only on TV 13.
Back now, 7:30 on a Monday morning, day one of the Republican convention in Houston. The Astros are away on the longest road trip in baseball history. 28 days out on the road, trying to see if they can stay in 5th place ahead of the Dodgers.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Lest somebody accuse us of being guilty of deceptive advertising as we broke away for a station break, I said when we come back we'll be talking with George Bush. I did not lie. Just not George Bush, the president. George W. Bush, the president's eldest son, a political operator in his own right, and also a managing general partner of the Texas Rangers Baseball Club.
Oh, boy.
Well, just to kind of make it all fit. He'll be along with us right after news and weather.
It's a baseball kind of morning. One of the snags to Republican unity is the abortion question. The platform committee has come down hard against abortion rights, but both George and Barbara Bush have made public statements about abortion being an individual decision. We'll be getting into that dilemma in this half hour.
Margaret Larson is away on an extended maternity leave.
And we gave her quite a send-off on Friday. You were sick. She did the show all by herself.
Yeah, and I understand she had a couple of concerns there.
A few contractions?
Part of the time through it. That would have been interesting.
Yikes, I'll say. Al Roker would have been there to deliver the Bambino scary thought.
You think so?
I don't know.
7:31. Let's go to the news desk. Ann Curry is joining us. Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Bryant. UN weapons inspectors say they've wrapped up their work in Baghdad, with the team leader calling the mission a success. Team leader Nikita Smitovich added that relations with Saddam Hussein's government are back to normal. The UN official's remarks come in sharp contrast to Washington's weekend saber-rattling. NBC's Fred Francis says the U.S. has sent a battle staff to Saudi Arabia to coordinate American military moves if push came to shove in Baghdad. A Navy pilot has been killed in the crash of a Harrier jet fighter in Kuwait. It is the second fatal military aircraft accident since the start of war games earlier this month. 2 crewmen were killed when a Marine helicopter crashed on August 8th. President Bush has denied a report in the New York Times that he's spoiling for a fight with Iraq to boost his standing in the polls. But he told reporters that military action is possible at any time if Baghdad defies the terms of last year's ceasefire. The Republican Party opens its convention in Houston today and will renominate George Bush for president later this week. But this year, there have been divisions over the issue of abortion and over the president's track record. Robert Hager joins us now with more on the story from Houston. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Ann. Well, a new NBC poll of delegates to this convention shows underlying concerns about the candidate and the issues. A surprising number are critical, despite all the hoopla as the party heads into this convention.
Cheering as the Connecticut delegation arrives. Words of welcome. More cheering as New Jersey holds its first delegation caucus. Calls for 4 more years of Bush in the White House.
4 more years! 4 more years!
But when NBC News asked a large sampling of delegates if they were better off than they were 4 years ago, 1/3 said they were not. Some other findings. 40% said they would have preferred to leave the divisive abortion issue out of the platform. 23% said they were not sure whether to keep Vice President Quayle on the ticket. In fact, 15% of those said dump him. In spite of misgivings, there's no serious move to replace Quayle. Most delegates are determined to present a public show of enthusiasm. But our poll found 43% of delegates believe President Bush is vulnerable for breaking his promise of no new taxes. And 36% found his record weak on jobs and the economy.
Well, to put all these figures in perspective, more than half the delegates found no fault with the ticket, and nearly all the delegates sampled said they expect Bush will come from behind and win in November. Ann?
All right, thanks, Bob Hager in Houston. A reminder about our convention coverage. NBC News will again be working with PBS with coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Then at 10 p.m., convention coverage continues here on NBC. A UN convoy has completed a dangerous mission of mercy to a battered city in Bosnia. It delivered tons of medical supplies to the largely Muslim town of Gorazda, where they are desperately needed. The convoy ran into long delays along the way, however, as landmines were spotted and had to be disarmed. Well, here at home, firefighters had a busy weekend in California and Oregon because of brush fires. Fires in California blackened hundreds of acres. At least one of the fires remained out of control earlier today. Firefighters dumped chemicals, dug trenches, and lit back fires to slow the flames. Well, you're up to date at 7:34. Time now for the weather and Willard.
This morning's weather is brought to you by Kraft Philadelphia brand cream cheese. Butter your bread with Philly instead.
All right, let's send it on down Washington Way.
I'm so excited. Willard!
They're the sweetheart of two continents.
How are ya?
You were dynamite.
I missed you.
I missed you. You were fantastic. Congratulations. I know you got to be proud. Next time, take me with you. I'll do anything.
I'll take you in my suitcase. I got a big one.
Now, listen, I'm a big guy. I can handle it for you. Very nice, and welcome back. And Margaret, anything new from Margaret?
No, she's still resting comfortably.
All right, very
well,
good.
we're not sure how comfortably, but she's resting.
She's resting, yeah, that's right.
Well, we want to keep posted. Let me know what happens, because I could be there in an instant if they need help. And, speaking of good things, one thing we want to mention, too, because we look after all of our folks on this show, Deborah Normal, we're so happy for her. She's got a new gig at CBS. We wish her the best from all of us at NBC. A truly lovely lady. Happy birthday this morning from all of our friends here. I want some more Red Heart. I want to go chase a car. Take a look at Jenny Tusk of Chicago, Illinois. She is 103. She has 5 great grandchildren and 3 great-great-grandchildren. Happy birthday to you. And let me don the hat, if I could, please. Ronald McDonald House, one of the great institutions in America. Milwaukee North Sunrise Rotary Club is sponsoring the 9th annual Ronald McDonald House Celebrity Golf Tournament Classic today in Mequon, Michigan. So check it out in the ballpark. Happy birthday again. We missed one at 7 o'clock, but we're always glad to give our time up for the GOP down in Houston. Wish them well with their convention. This is Nettie Kleckner of Alexandria, Virginia. She's 100. Always starts the day with a smile. And as we turn the page of life, Christian, take a look. Here's Christian Mortensen of San Rafael, California, 110. Enjoys a good cigar every once in a while and in fantastic health. You can't beat the combination. A couple of interesting things happening in the wacky world of weather. Still delays this morning. Philadelphia 30 minutes, Atlanta 30, all due to rain and fog all up and down the East Coast. More soggy weather along the eastern seaboard today. Be on the lookout for scattered showers from New England all the way down through Florida. That'll begin to move out of the way. Some thunderstorms in the nation's midsection from the western Great Lakes right on down through the Plain States into Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. There's a tropical depression that's formed about 1,500 miles off the African coast. If it does develop, the name will be Andrew. Thank you. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, if you're just getting up, a few scattered clouds out there. Our eventual high today should be around 78 degrees with southerly winds. Rain should remain to the west. However, tonight we have an increasing chance of rain showers with more clouds, down to 61 tonight, so not as cool.
Okay, listen, Brian, I hate to say this to you, but the beard when that starts falling out, the hair's usually next, so good luck.
All right, Willie, thank you. 7:38, and we come back. We'll talk with George W. Bush, the president's son, right after this.
Entering the Philly is Spreading Across America sweepstakes is easy. Just fill out official entry forms from this Sunday's paper or from boxes of Philly cream cheese. And if you're one of the 5 grand prize winners, you'll win breakfast with yours truly. We'll have bagels smothered with delicious Philly cream cheese.
Tell them the rest, Willard.
Did I mention you also win a free trip to New York and $10,000? So mail your entry forms today.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. All entries must be received by April 30, 1993.
Spare me a second, Sam.
Remember,
Starters,
every time you breathe out,
and shipments aren't just slipping, they're slumping.
Someone else may be breathing in. Try Breath Saver sugar-free mints with the core of confidence and share them.
What happens when you pack this much juicy, bursting flavor in carefree sugarless bubblegum?
It sets you free. Now when the opera's like a noose, carefree shakes my big couples. Let the bursting flavor set you free.
According to a major consumer magazine, these shoes don't just walk all over harsh terrain. They walk all over other walking shoes. Easy Spirit, the most cushioned walking shoes on earth.
Oh, great. Just what my stomach needs. Here comes my obnoxious boss.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, boy. Better make it Malox, because extra strength Malox Plus neutralizes more acid than Mylanta. So you better make it Malox.
He went to Andover and Yale. He was a fighter pilot, and he was in the oil business. He's from Texas, and his name's George Bush. But he is not the president. Instead, he's the eldest son of George and Barbara and considered a key political advisor to the White House. This morning, George W. Bush is in Houston at the site of the convention. George, good morning. How you doing?
Brian, morning. You forgot to mention the Texas Rangers.
Oh, okay. But what your dad didn't have... I did mention the Texas Rangers before we went away to station break.
Okay, sorry. I didn't have...
That's all right. You want to talk baseball or politics?
Whatever you like, Brian.
Okay, let's start with politics.
Okay.
Can you recall a time when your father's political fortunes were any more trouble than they are today?
Yeah, after the 1970 Senate race when he lost.
After the 1970 Senate race when he lost. What about on the national front?
Well, I don't think that 88 was a picnic either until he came to the convention. But if what you're suggesting is, am I worried about his standing in the polls, the answer is no, I'm not.
Why aren't you worried?
Because I think he's going to win, and I think that when he contrasts what he believes compared to what his opponents believe, and when the American people get to see him as a campaigner and fighter as opposed to a president trying to govern, they'll vote for him.
What do you believe specifically has to be done to revive this campaign?
I think specifically what he has to do is come and fight for what he believes. For the last 6 months, he's taken an incredible pounding, not only in the press, but also as a result of having Democrats and Republicans run against him. And now he needs to show up as the warrior for a philosophy that talks about job creation and peace. And I think when he shows up to campaign and to fight for what he believes in, people will feel differently about him.
The changes the president made last week, as you know, are being viewed as clear evidence of the Republicans are in trouble.
What they are? Wait, I don't think that.
Well, you wouldn't be expected to. What
don't think that.
What was so wrong with the campaign that Jim Baker had to be coaxed out of the State Department to fix it?
Let me just start with you. Let's start with another way to put it. What is right about having Jim Baker by George Bush's side? And what's right about it is Dad has run every campaign he's ever run with his best friend by his side. And in order to be an effective candidate and to be president, you've got to have the very best you can find sitting at the home front. And we've got that in Jim Baker. Lawrence Eagleburger will be a fine Secretary of State, and as importantly, Jim Baker is going to be a fine campaign strategist, advisor, and White House Chief of Staff. So I don't think it's a sign of any disarray. I think it's putting the best people you've got in the right place for the campaign.
George, if it was the perfect move, why wasn't he named campaign head at the beginning?
Because he had his task of Secretary of State to
Was that task
fulfill.
done now?
Well, it's done as far as George Bush is concerned in order to bring Jim Baker. Remember, Jim Baker was Secretary of Treasury up until the convention in 1988, Brian. I just don't spend a lot of time trying to read into, into George Bush's strategic moves anything that's negative. Think positively.
Okay, let me look at the positive numbers that your dad has assembled in recent months. On Sam Skinner's watch, your dad's positive approval ratings went from the high 50s to the low 30s. How much of that, no. How much of that was Sam Skinner's fault? How much was your dad's fault?
None. It's all George Bush's fault.
Every bit of it.
Well, I think, look, when you have 4 or 5 Democrats kicking you in the teeth every day, and you have your own primary, and you have a press corps that is willing to say outrageous things, such as the New York Times yesterday, which I'd love to discuss with you, Brian, then your negatives are going to increase and your positives will fall, particularly when you're not defending yourself. But he's going to start defending himself. No one in our campaign is trying to point fingers at Sam Skinner or anybody else. Look, all the blame, if there is any, belongs to the president. But he's going to fight back, and he's going to resurrect this campaign, and we're going to win.
Okay, let me change gears with you a little bit. The platform committee adopted a rather unwavering stance against abortion, which your dad will have to run on.
Yes.
But which your mom has said has no place in a platform. Which of your parents are you siding with?
I've never side with either one. One of the things you learn as a son is never to pick sides between parents. Let me tell you what also Mother said. Our convention was the convention that allowed for abortion debate, and the Democrats totally stifled debate. Ours is a convention that's open for debate. Theirs is a convention that's closed for debate. And what's going to end up happening, Brian, is there's going to be a lot of delegates, regardless of their position on this issue, that are willing to go campaign hard for George Bush.
A couple of final notes. Your dad's been president more than 3.5 years. He was vice president 8 years before that. How do you explain the fact, George, that so many Americans still don't know what he wants to do with a second term? Why are they saying he has to define it in Houston?
Oh, I think that, Brian, when he comes here and does define what he believes, people will understand clearly. The focus has been on governing, not on campaigning. And when he brings this strong, positive message about what is in his heart and where he's going to take this country, Americans will rally to his side.
How come Republicans don't know that after he's had the office for 45 months?
Oh, I think they know it. I think they know it.
George Walker Bush. We'll talk again. Next time, maybe we'll talk baseball.
All right, Brian. Thank you.
Take care. 45 past the hour. Katie's back in just a moment. Take a look at the issue of abortion, the role it's playing at the convention. First, we'll take a break. This is Today on NBC.
Hi, I'm Les Brewer from ABC Seamless. You know, people have begun to think of us as the siding experts, but now we can do even more for your home. In fact, you might even think we're out to become your home improvement specialist. Once you see this, I think you'll see why. Take a look.
Now you can bring all the beauty of nature into your home with a Better Living patio room. This magnificent Better Living patio room can be added to your home in just a few days at a price that you can afford. People all across the country say it's their favorite room in the house.
I couldn't live without it right now. I really couldn't. I just, it is my favorite room.
We are able to sit outside every night in the room because the bugs are not a problem anymore.
For the little money it cost, we wouldn't be without it, believe me.
The Better Living patio room is like being on vacation without having to go anywhere.
Enlarge your home and improve your lifestyle with a Better Living patio room.
We think our patios will be a wonderful addition to ABC Seamless, but when it's all said and done, we know siding is still #1. When the going gets tough, some sidings just can't cut it, and seams make for a flimsy and unattractive surface. Our factory practically arrives at your doorstep to custom measure, cut everything to measure up to your home and your expectations. What you get is quality siding that can increase the value of your home. And ABC Seamless Siding is backed by a lifetime warranty and our tradition of customer satisfaction. Take a moment to call and set up an appointment for a free estimate. Find out what quality ABC Seamless Siding can do to add value and beauty to your home.
Save $700 right now. Operators are on duty, so call ABC Seamless Siding for your free consultation.
The Republican convention won't be called to order for a few hours yet, but there's already one issue dominating the headlines. It is abortion. And NBC's Lisa Myers has the story from Houston. Good morning again, Lisa.
Hello again, Katie. Regardless of whether or not there's a floor fight today, the Republican Party remains deeply divided on this issue. Abortion, unlike any other single issue, threatens to fracture the Republican coalition.
They've talked about a big tent, but really the platform is a pup tent. It's no big tent. And what they've offered us is little more than an outhouse attached to the rear.
Abortion rights advocates spent the weekend trying to corral votes to force a debate when the platform comes to the convention floor this afternoon. But so far, they have not come up with the majority of delegates from 6 states required to force a floor fight. Many delegates were swayed by the Bush campaign line that a disruptive floor fight was not in the interest of their president.
We all rather like him, and we certainly don't intend to embarrass him.
We believe the unborn child has a fundamental individual right to life which cannot be infringed.
The platform plank, almost identical to that adopted since 1984, is to the right of George Bush. It calls for a constitutional amendment to outlaw abortion, even in cases of rape and incest.
Is there no room in our hearts for exceptions?
An amendment to provide exceptions for rape and incest failed badly.
All opposed, no?
No. Anti-abortion forces even shot down a behind-the-scenes effort by the Bush campaign to include platform language acknowledging the diversity of views within the party.
Some committee members and some rank-and-file Republicans disagree.
So that small gesture to abortion rights supporters had to be handled in a separate resolution.
They really need to understand that the pro-lifers are now the backbone that is holding up George Bush.
With the economy in bad shape, Bush can't afford to offend social conservatives and evangelical Christians, perhaps the most loyal members of his base. But he also must reassemble another key part of his 1988 coalition, suburbanites and Republican women, who tend to favor abortion rights, which is why you have heard a dizzying array of mixed messages from the First Family. Last week, Barbara Bush said abortion doesn't belong in the platform. Her husband said that even though he wants to make abortion illegal, if it were his granddaughter, it would be her choice.
Who else's could it be?
That was music to the ears of many Republicans who favor abortion rights, like Massachusetts Governor William Weld.
Well, I don't want to characterize what those distinguished Americans have said, other than to say that I agree with them. And you know where I stand.
So far, most pollsters say abortion doesn't seem to be one of Bush's biggest problems. Pollster Linda Duvall recently asked 1988 Bush voters what the president needs to do differently to win their votes this year.
We find 4 out of 10 of his 88 voters say do something about the economy. Another 25% that say focus on domestic issues, and only 2% cite abortion.
The danger is that 2% is likely to be concentrated in important states like Illinois, California, New Jersey. And in a close election, 2% can be the ball game.
My greatest fear is that George Bush is going to wake up the day after the election, having lost, and basically turn to Barbara and say, you know, we should have listened to our pro-choice friends.
There are lifelong Republicans like Patricia Cox who say they can't vote for Bush again because of this issue.
I realize how Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned if we don't have a pro-choice president.
But more seem to agree with Eleanor Nisley, who fought for abortion rights in the platform committee, but says the time for fighting is over.
Pro-choice is not as important as having George Bush as president of this country.
The Bush campaign will continue to try to have it both ways on abortion. For those who disagree with the president's position, the message is, read our lips, not our platform. Katie?
Lisa, thanks a lot. Senator John Seymour of California is leading a group called Unity Platform 92, trying to remove any mention of abortion from the Republican platform. This morning, he's at the Astrodome in Houston. That's where we also find Governor John Ashcroft of Missouri. He is a co-chairman of the Bush Quayle campaign and was co-chairman of the platform committee. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning,
to you.
Senator Seymour, let me start with you. It now seems there will not be enough votes for a floor fight on this issue. Are you surprised about that, disappointed as well?
Well, yes, I am disappointed. However, not too surprised, Katie. We knew this was an uphill battle from day one. We lobbied the members of the platform committee, the chairman of the platform committee. We've been working hard, and we're still working hard as I'm speaking to you, trying to line up the 6 states to bring it up here on the floor. On the other hand, although I wasn't surprised, I'm not disappointed. What we have done here at this convention is we have set the foundation for 1996. You see, this isn't about President Bush. This is about the Republican Party and those who want to come into the Republican Party.
Governor Ashcroft, let me ask you, how damaging will a floor debate be if, in fact, it takes place at all?
Well, we've been a party that's debated this issue. We've debated it across the country. This isn't a stealth platform. This wasn't a secret process like the Democrats had for that platform. This 120 pages of platform material was developed across the country, and then on C-SPAN and on some of the major networks, we covered with several days of open debate. So this isn't an issue which is being hidden or hasn't been discovered by the American people. They've seen this identical plank in our platform for the last 3 successful presidential elections. You've just reported in your own news segment that a scant 2%, that's a margin of error type participation in voting, say that this is a fundamental issue to them in terms of their demand that there be any change in it. So I don't think that this is something that threatens us. I've been on the ground for 9 days here
This is not dividing the Republican Party. This party is coming together, and the momentum is building, not waning here in Houston.
But, Governor, couldn't that scant 2% make a big difference in a very tight race? Aren't you fearful that this position, this very conservative position, will in fact alienate many women and more moderate Republicans, and it will make a difference?
This is the same platform position we've had through the last 3 winning Republican presidential elections. The language has not changed 1 comma, 1 period, 1 quotation mark, 1 letter. It's 1 paragraph out of 120 pages of solid reasons to support the Republican Party in this election. I think you're overestimating grossly the kind of impact that this discussion has had. The American people expect us to have discussions. It was the Democrat Party that refused to allow people to even discuss this issue at their platform. I'm talking about at their convention, not even governors were allowed to breathe a word about this important issue to the American people. This party is open, and I don't think the awareness by the American people that the Republican Party has discussed this issue is going to have an adverse effect on our party. It'll be something that recommends the openness of the Republican Party to America.
Senator Seymour, do you agree, or do you think abortion is a crucial issue in this campaign?
Well, it is really not an issue about George Bush, as I said, Katie. What it is about the future of the Republican Party. If we ever want to become a majority party, then we need to have the party platform aligned with the majority opinion, both of Republicans who are pro-choice like myself, as well as many independents and Democrats who agree with our platform when it comes to lower taxes or being strong in law and order or being strong in national defense. But this very contentious issue is keeping them out. We need to bring in independents. We need to bring in Democrats to our party if, in fact, we're going to become a majority party in Congress and in the state houses across the nation.
Governor, let me ask you this question. You, I know, agree with the president that exceptions should be made for cases of rape and incest and to protect the life of the mother. Yet the platform does not reflect the president's own views. It's much more of a right-wing position. Why is that?
Well, first of all, the platform is a set of principles. It's not a specific document. It's not a statute. It's not a particular amendment to the Constitution. It's a statement of principle. The Democratic platform is a statement of principle. All abortions ought to be allowed. That includes for them, you know, abortions for sex selection. If the sonogram shows the child to be a girl instead of a boy, you know, it's fine to have an abortion. For governmentally funded abortions.
But what about rape and incest and to protect the life of the mother?
Platforms are designed to be statements of principle. There are lots of people in this party that would obviously include protecting the life of the mother. That's been my position consistently. George Bush is content with this platform, which has stood him in good stead in the last 3 presidential elections. It's the very same language. The American people know what it says. George Bush knows what it says, and he's endorsed this and will run, and not only run, but win on this platform this year.
All right, Senator John Seymour, Governor John Ashcroft, thank you both for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're back in a moment with more on Today, right after this.
Welcome to Hotel Views, the summer getaway. Holiday Inn or Ramada? Bob?
Thank you. Susan, you heat rash. At Holiday Inn, you get a place to eat, a place to sleep, and a place to swim. Come on, it's a perfect vacation.
Bob, you compost heap. Ramada's got great rooms, nice restaurants, and refreshing pools, just like Holiday, but at a better price. And now with Ramada's summer sale, you and the family can get away for as low as $39 a night. You could save enough to buy some breath mints. There's no debate. For summer getaways, Ramada's in.
Weekend. No tie, no briefcase, just plastic.
It all boils down to this. No other card you can carry is accepted in more places and in more ways.
Food.
At home and abroad.
I got it.
Than MasterCard. It's the only card you need.
Rooms.
MasterCard.
Not a bad day's work.
Master the moment.
I feel good. I knew that I would. I feel good. I knew that I would. So good, so good. I got you.
Senokot laxative tablets work like second nature. Overnight, Senokot, the natural vegetable laxative. You'll feel so good so soon.
So good, so good. I got you.
Kind of like riding a bicycle, right?
Yeah, feels great.
Yeah?
Just get right back on. Going strong?
Another hour to go. Stay awake. More to come after station break.
Only Jay Leno brings you live political comedy from the floor of the Republican National Convention with Tom Brokaw and Paula Poundstone all week long on The Tonight Show.
Starting at just $3.79, you can do lunch at Bonanza. That includes our Fresh-tastic salad bar with soups and dessert bar, plus our standard quick, friendly service. So, hey, let's do lunch soon, huh?
Hey, America, did you know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of America's top 10 selling vehicles are Fords? And now your Ford dealer's saying thanks with the Ford Factory Authorized Clearance. Option package discounts and cash back let you save on every new Ford. Save on Taurus, Explorer, Ranger, Escort, and F-Series pickups. It's the Factory Authorized Clearance with an all-American lineup. Only at your Ford dealer.
From WHO TV 13 Des Moines, this is a 24-hour news update.
Good morning, I'm Stacia Strand with this live news update at 8 o'clock, 55 degrees. The National Republican Convention kicks off in Houston today with Iowa Republicans hoping the event will spur enthusiasm for the fall campaign. The Iowa delegation is made up mostly of conservatives and Christian fundamentalists. So far, everything has gone smoothly for the delegates. They spend Sunday checking into hotels and gearing up for this week. Cooler than normal temperatures across central Iowa once again today. Look for a high near 80 degrees. More news at 8:25.
Back now. The president seems none of the bad news during his administration ever seemed to affect his popularity, and his convention appearances were more like coronations. Well, things are a lot different now. As Reagan prepares to address the convention tonight, he's doing worse in public opinion polls than he ever did in office. We'll talk of the Reagan legacy in this half hour. We're back in Studio 3B. I'm Bryant Gumbel here with Katie Couric. We're welcoming her back after an extended absence. Were you gone 5 weeks?
One month, 4 weeks. Last time I checked, 4 weeks was 1 month.
It was July 10th. Today's August 17th.
Wasn't July 10th, was it? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to look into this.
What else we got? Go ahead.
It was 4 weeks, yeah.
July 10th.
1 week before the Olympics, 2 weeks during the Olympics, and then I took a week of vacation.
We'll see.
Yeah, your calendar is different than mine. Later in the hour, Bryant, another convention speaker, Mary Fisher. She is the daughter of a major GOP fundraiser. She is also HIV positive, and she hopes to heighten concern about AIDS. And we'll talk with 2 White House reporters who say George Bush has to campaign against his first term if he wants to win a second.
All right, Katie, let's move to our top news story. That concerns the situation in Iraq. United Nations inspectors this morning ended their inspection of Iraqi facilities without incident and without confrontation. Ed Rabel joins us again from Baghdad. Ed, what's the latest?
Well, Brian, apparently Iraq has been successful in avoiding another military strike by allowing these UN inspectors to go into some sensitive locations. I say apparently because the head of the UN inspection team, Nikita Smitovich, who is a Russian scientist and diplomat, didn't reveal exactly where they went, although he said that they were successful in their tour, that the tour was finished, and that relations with Baghdad are completely normal. The next step in this process, the team will wrap up its work here. It will write a report. The report will be revealed in New York, and the team leaves on schedule tomorrow. So at least we know that whatever the UN inspection team was after today, it said it was able to achieve, and that it paved the way for a smooth operation of the next team to come in, Brian.
Ed, real quick, did you ever see any evidence in Baghdad the people there were fearful of U.S. military action or thought it might be coming?
Yeah, they sort of shrugged their shoulders and said, we've been through it before. We were through it 8 years of the Iran-Iraq war. We went through the bombing last year. If it comes, it comes. There's not much we can do about it. We don't want to see it happen, but life went on as normal here, Brian.
All right. Ed Rabel, thank you. Our Pentagon correspondent Fred Francis again joins us from Washington. Fred, you broke this story over the weekend that the U.S. was ready to bomb Iraqi military targets if Hussein interfered with the UN inspection team. Since Hussein didn't, what happens now?
Actually, Bryant, the plan was not to bomb Iraqi targets. The plan was to confront the Iraqis in southern Iraq, and that continues. That's UN Resolution 688. It began last week when the United States and the Allies decided they would issue a demarche to Iraq about flying fixed-wing aircraft and using napalm bombs against Shiite rebels in the south. That plan continues. That's what the air staff went over there for last Thursday. That's what the carrier Independence is there for. The plan is to use the aircraft carrier Independence once a warning is issued to Iraq to shoot down fighters, Iraqi fighters, below the 32nd parallel. The plan was never, as reported in the New York Times, to bomb Iraqi targets this week. It was just to confront, in a minor risk operation, the Iraqi Air Force in southern Iraq. And I must tell you, Bryant, that that plan continues.
Is that a unilateral U.S. action or taken in concert with our allies in the UN?
No, they met with the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, the British, and the French on Thursday and Friday. They didn't come quite to an agreement then. They're expected to meet again today to decide exactly how they're going to go about enforcing UN Resolution 688. And I expect that to come later this week. And then a warning will be issued to Iraq. So this crisis is not over, but it's just not as large as the crisis outlined in published reports yesterday.
Okay, Fred Francis, the Pentagon. Meantime, President Bush has angrily denied a New York Times report that he was trying to provoke a confrontation with Iraq for his own political purposes. But the president said he would not be stopped from taking military action because of suspicions of political motivation. He called the report ugly and uncalled for. The president also said that the report of an impending confrontation showed a breach of security. The president's remarks came as thousands of Republicans were gathering in Houston for their national convention. The president arrives in Houston later today, and he says he's fired up and ready to fight rival Bill Clinton. But the president has his work cut out for him, with most polls showing him trailing Clinton by substantial margins. Bob Kerr is in Houston this morning with more on the president's standing in his own home state. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Bryant. Well, that's right. The polls here in the state that George Bush likes to call home are about as discouraging as polls for him just about every place else in the country. This new Texas poll shows the president trailing Bill Clinton by 17 points.
Texas Republicans who hosted a pre-convention party for delegates last night did express some concern about the president's predicament.
I think they'll probably work on that. Mr. Baker will work on it. They'll figure out something.
And these are the party's cheerleaders, not the significant percentage of Republican faithful whose votes Mr. Bush cannot yet count on. These supporters believe the president can turn it around.
I would just tell him to really get very aggressive, to point out the things he has done, the things that he has proposed but has been thwarted by a Democratic Congress.
I think the president just really hasn't had his say yet. You know, it's like one team is playing on the field and the other one isn't out yet.
I think once he gets his message out to the public, it'll jumpstart it.
Not surprisingly, the advice these Texas Republicans have for Mr. Bush parallels what his advisors want him to do.
Compare his record as President of the United States on the economy with that of Governor Clinton's in Arkansas. Arkansas has had the least growth and disposable income of any southern state.
Beginning to raise doubts about Governor Clinton is a key goal of the Bush campaign in this hall this week. But the president must also sell himself, offer something. And to that end, there is talk that the president might even have some new economic proposals, even a tax cut, to make up for breaking his no new taxes promise at the convention 4 years ago. Bryant.
All right, Bob Kerr in Houston, thank you. 8:07, let's move to the news desk. In for Margaret Larson and Curry. Ann?
All right, thanks, Bryant. In other news, a UN convoy returned safely to Sarajevo today after delivering relief supplies to a besieged Bosnian town. Braving gunfire and mines, it took the convoy 40 hours to make the 60-mile round trip to Gorazda. The convoy brought 8 truckloads of food and medical supplies, but few feel the supplies will bring much relief. About 70,000 people are trapped in Gorazda. Relief supplies are also arriving in Somalia, where officials say 1/4 of the population is in danger of starving. But most of those starving will never see the supplies. The food is being stolen by looters and armed Somalis, and officials say unless security is increased, the situation will get worse. Sunday, armed Somalis attacked a port where a relief ship was being unloaded. 110 tons of food were stolen. A U.S. Navy pilot was killed this morning when his plane crashed during war games in Kuwait. The U.S. Navy says the Harrier jet crashed while on a routine mission last night about 50 miles from Kuwait City. The accident was the second fatal accident reported since the war games began on August 8th. Firefighters in the West have contained 2 major brush fires in Oregon, but in California, fires continue to burn out of control. 6 fires are burning in Northern California with 700 acres already charred. Scores of residents have been evacuated from the area, and firefighters hope to contain the blaze shortly. That is the news at 8 minutes past the hour. Now here's Willard with the weather.
This morning's weather is brought to you by the Anheuser-Busch Companies. We're as committed to a quality environment as we are to quality products.
Hey, thank you, Josie and Katie and Ann and Bryant. Good morning again. Take a look. My wife's uncle had an old Garwood, which was one of the greatest speedboats in the history of mankind. I don't know whatever happened to that thing. Anyway, this antique race boat regatta gets underway Thursday, August 20th through Sunday the 23rd, 1,000 Islands up in Clayton, New York. And there will be some classic old boats. If you're into that sort of thing, you might check it out. Again, it's Clayton, New York this coming weekend. Antique boats, and they are in fabulous shape. I'm an antique weatherman. I'm not so hot. Happy birthday this morning. These folks are in great shape. Take a look as Hallmark salutes Nellie Richardson of Midland, Michigan. She's outlived 3 husbands. How about you, babe? Fantastic. Still working on the first one. 107. Pretty lady, happy birthday to you. And as we turn the page of life, Gus Peckrell of Augusta, Kansas is 105. He is truly a handsome man. Wish him a very happy birthday. Couple little weather notes this morning, if you'll check it out, please. We've had rain. I mean, it's rust. It's not sun that we're tanned. It's a rust belt we're in now from New England all the way down through the southeast. Moss is growing on our backs, and it's going to rain again today and probably tomorrow, but that front will begin to move out of the way. Look for some thunderstorms from the western Great Lakes down to the upper Mississippi Valley, down to the southern Plains states, the northern part of the southern Plains states, into New Mexico and the Texas-Oklahoma Panhandle. And the other big story, the heat continues in the western states. West of the Rockies, it is terribly warm. Here in the East, we've had one of the nicest summers ever, if you like rain. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, if you're just getting up, a few scattered clouds out there. Our eventual high today should be around 78 degrees with southerly winds. Rain should remain to the west. However, tonight we have an increasing chance of rain showers with more clouds down to 61 tonight, so not as cool.
Hey, Brian, I wish I were down here. Why don't you send me to Houston? Nympha's one of my favorite restaurants in the world down there.
Is that right?
Called?
Nympha's.
Ah.
It's Nympha's. It is Mexican. It is unbelievable food.
Oh.
If they'd send us some up, we'll give them a plug tomorrow morning.
They already got the plug. They don't need to send you anything.
Don't tell them that.
Another plug.
Okay, come on back in just a moment. We'll talk about the legacy of Ronald Reagan right after this.
It's only natural that children look to their parents for answers. So to help you explain why some things that may be fine for adults aren't right for children, Anheuser-Busch offers Family Talk, free advice from professionals to use with your kids while they're still learning to be grown up. And their favorite teacher is you. Let's stop underage drinking before it starts.
Both Visa and American Express Gold cards can get you to La Roche-Guyon, one of the prettiest towns in France. But should something go wrong here, only Visa Gold can get you out.
You had to come to France, right?
Don't start, Marty.
Because La Roche-Guyon's only towing service
No, we're not getting a tow truck. I can get this out.
doesn't take American Express.
Oui?
Visa Gold, delivering what really matters.
Jamal's from.
Honey, that means I eat French.
Oh.
It's everywhere you want to be.
Dear Folgers, I run a bed and breakfast. When I overslept one morning, the Folgers switch saved my reputation. The percolator wasn't even set up. So I secretly switched Folgers Crystals for the brewed coffee I normally serve.
This is delicious.
Well, the taste and aroma must have fooled them, because they were shocked when I revealed the switch and joked about sounding like one of your restaurant commercials.
Folgers Crystals, proven to surprise fresh brewed coffee drinkers.
Sincerely, Janet Turley.
Thank you. Want to do plain Raisin Bran one better? Go nuts! Take the raisin and the almond nut and put them both together. Cover raisins with the almond nut and make it all taste better. Nuts, nut-covered raisins, all it takes. Plus almond chunks and crispy flakes. For a hearty, nuttier taste than plain old Raisin Bran. Add the raisin and the almond nuts, you're gonna like it bad. Why stop at raisins when you can go nuts? Try Raisin Nut Bran. All I need to see your Rembrandt smile. You make the world a brighter place. I love to see your smiling face. So smile.
Rembrandt Whitening Toothpaste. Over 40,000 dentists recommend it for clinically proven safe whitening.
Butter? Philly.
Thank you.
Looks good, doesn't it? Ounce for ounce, Philly cream cheese has half the calories of butter or margarine. Next time, butter your bread with Philly instead.
Though Ronald Reagan has been out of office for nearly 4 years now, his name still generates impassioned feelings among his supporters and his critics. To some, he is the president who headmanned the expansion of the economy and engineered the post-Cold War era. But others see Ronald Reagan as a point man for the greed and scandal of the 80s and chief architect of the budget deficits that are crippling our economy today. A new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll released today reveals that only 30% of those surveyed now have positive feelings towards Ronald Reagan. More than half, 54%, have negative feelings towards the former president, and 16% are neutral or say they're not sure. Michael Deaver was special assistant to President Reagan and a close advisor is in Houston this morning. Mr. Deaver, good morning.
Good morning.
Those
Brian.
poll numbers either surprise you or disappoint you?
Well, they don't surprise me. You know, one of the reasons for Ronald Reagan's popularity and success was the Cold War and the way he would handle it, and that's been over with. The other thing is that there has been a steady drumbeat of revisionism about the Reagan years by the Democrats and others, and for 4 years he has not defended himself, so those figures don't surprise me.
To your mind, in the simplest of terms, oversimplification in fact, what is the Reagan legacy?
I think it's, in my mind anyway, it's twofold. One, he restored confidence in America and in ourselves. And secondly, he, I think, will get credit for the end of the conflict between East and West.
How do you view, you talked about the steady drumbeat. Part of that drumbeat is the frequent observation that it was the Reagan policies of the 80s that sowed our current seeds of economic discontent. How do you view that?
Well, I think it's one-sided and short-sighted. You know, we've had almost 50 years of Democrat control of the Congress, and one span of 8 years is not going to be the total reason for some of the problems we have today. There's got to be a share on that. I think it's kind of difficult for me to understand why Ronald Reagan can get the blame for everything, and yet Clinton and the Democrats stand up and said, but he can't take credit for ending the conflict with the Soviet Union or opening up democracy in the Caribbean and all those good things that also came out of it.
Couldn't they turn that around and say, how can you give Ronald Reagan credit for all of those things and not give him any blame for any of the things that haunt us today?
Well, first of all, I think Ronald Reagan is willing to accept whatever the judgment is on him. I think it's also interesting that the dialogue has been changed. I mean, we just witnessed a Democrat convention that sounded like a Ronald Reagan platform. They divorced themselves completely from the policies of the past and took the themes that would appeal to the so-called Reagan Democrats. So you can't have it both ways.
What are you, Mr. Deaver, what are you hoping to hear from Ronald Reagan when he gets to the podium tonight, and what are you expecting to hear?
Well, I think that what Ronald Reagan will bring to this convention is an inspirational message, a vision, if you will. I think there's going to be a lot of nostalgia in this room tonight when he walks out on the stage.
Michael Deaver in Houston, thank you very much, sir.
You bet, thank you.
Among the many others who, of course, see Ronald Reagan in a far different light is Congressman Barney Frank. This morning he's at our Boston affiliate, WBZ-TV. Mr. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
In the simplest of terms, how would you define the Reagan legacy?
Well, I think the weakness in the economy is a major part of it. And I have to disagree with Mike Deaver's facts. He did not face a Democratic-controlled Congress. He faced a divided Congress. For 6 of Ronald Reagan's 8 years, he had a Republican Senate. And during his first term, his first 2 years, he had a conservative House. It was nominally Democratic, but he had enough Southern Democratic conservatives, some of whom later became Republicans, to control it. And he set the stage then for an economy which has been hurting. Ronald Reagan did some good things. He restored confidence in government. Ironically, as a great conservative, he was so skillful at the job of the presidency and its political and public aspects, which are important and legitimate aspects, that he kind of restored some confidence in it. But at the same time, he had this mistaken view that very substantial tax cuts without very significant reductions in spending, because remember, the difference between the Democrats in Congress and Ronald Reagan on spending was what kind of spending, not how much. We were never for spending more than him. We were for spending more in the medical care area, less in the military area. And the result is an economy that has a tremendous deficit and that was so debt-ridden that we're hurting today.
Polls, you saw the poll numbers we put up a little bit earlier. They show his approval ratings were very high when he left office. Today, that more than half the people feel negatively towards him. Are you surprised?
A little bit, but I think people are reflecting reality. And the reality, as I said, is this economy. Ronald Reagan was the one who said to us, look, the free market will take care of everything. If we cut taxes enough, we don't have to worry about anything else. We will take off regulations of all kinds. We probably were somewhat over-regulated when he came in, but we've been substantially under-regulated as a result. And what I think people are reacting to, Bryant, is this economy, the enormous debt, the international debt, the domestic debt, the problems that we now have. Ronald Reagan is more responsible for than anyone else, although obviously there's some shared responsibility.
How much credit do you give him for expansion of the economy and hastening the demise of the Soviet Union?
I give him more for the latter than the former. Yes, he gets a lot of credit for the demise of the Soviet Union. So, by the way, does every president since Harry Truman. But that's a shared responsibility. Both are shared. I think, however, the main reason that the Soviet Union collapsed was not that not just America, but the Soviet Union itself. That was an inherently rotten system, and there was a bipartisan effort to keep pressure on them. In the economic area, though, he was more the leader there in terms of changing policy.
Understood.
He basically carried on an international policy. He pioneered a new domestic policy, and I think the results have been terribly negative.
Real quick, do you think his appearance tonight will significantly help or hurt George Bush?
I think the distinction between Ronald Reagan and George Bush in personality is so great that it won't. George Bush simply hasn't got the skills that Ronald Reagan had, and I don't see a transfer here.
I'll have to leave it there. Congressman Frank, thank you. It's 21 past the hour. We're back in a moment, right after this.
Okay, Ted, here's your orange juice. You wait here, and I'll go get your breakfast.
There's nothing like 100% pure Florida quality orange juice with the vitamins, minerals, and taste that make you feel so good.
How'd you do that?
100% pure Florida quality orange juice that makes you feel so good.
Whoa, yeah. Want you to rock me. Rock me all. Sun gone down, moon begins to rise. I want you to rock me till you make me satisfied.
You know, milk's great for a lot of things, but when it comes to my coffee, this is great. Coffee Mate. Makes my coffee rich, smooth, and creamy. The way I like it. So milk for some things, but Coffee Mate for my coffee. It works out beautifully.
Coffee Mate from Carnation. What you put in coffee, even when there's milk around.
Today, we need to make every drop of oil count. So at BP, we're using advanced drilling techniques. Building oil fields that are smaller, more efficient, more productive than ever. because that's the kind of thinking it takes to deliver about 10% of America's domestic oil. And to make the most of every drop. BP, the energy to change.
Dad, you're going to be late for work. And you're not to leave this house without breakfast.
Oh, and who does that sound like?
Give your family all the nutrition of a complete meal with Carnation Instant Breakfast. Because life doesn't stop for breakfast.
Dad.
So, you just got a cash advance, did you? Too bad you used an ordinary credit card. Because you could be carrying some very heavy interest charges. Why not carry the Discover card? Just pay your full monthly balance and a small transaction fee, and we'll forget the interest. Which means our money comes with no strings attached. It pays to Discover.
Okay, we checked the calendar. It was July 16th. Now, you happy?
He was wrong. Alert the media.
We're going to... Believe me, though. Never mind. We're back in a moment. We'll take a station break.
You know what tastes better on Grant's Farm bread?
Toast tastes better, jam is nicer. Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread.
Spreads taste livelier, pickles are crunchier.
Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread.
And why? Because Grant's Farm tastes so good all by itself, and it's cholesterol-free.
Beef is tastier, peppers are snappier. Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread. Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread.
Taste 'em.
Count on CNN Headline News to bring you the top news, sports, and business stories from around the world every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day.
And at 24 and 54 past the hour, count on News Center 13, where the news comes first to keep you up to date with the latest breaking news from around central Iowa.
Whether news breaks around the world or around the corner, count on CNN Headline News and News Center 13 to bring it home to you on TCI Channel 30.
This 24-hour news update is brought to you by your local Ford dealer.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. We're going to check out local news, and then we'll get a look at our week's forecast with meteorologist Scott Mayo. Still a partly cloudy sky at 8:25, temperature in the mid-50s. More on the weather coming up. The National Republican Convention, of course, kicks off in Houston today, with Iowa Republicans hoping the event will spur enthusiasm for the fall campaign. Governor Terry Branstad is leading the Iowa delegation at the GOP convention. So far, everything has gone smoothly for the delegates. They spent Sunday checking in at the hotel and attending functions in their honor. But there is some infighting among the Iowa delegates. GOP moderates are complaining about being shut out of platform debates by the conservative majority. One moderate called the Iowa group, quote, a bunch of right-wing radicals who will turn off the average voter, unquote. Details have not been disclosed, but negotiators for unions and the U.S. West Film Company say they have reached agreement on a new contract. Local communications workers were at Union Hall well into the night with picket signs ready just in case a strike had been called. Ratification will take at least 2 weeks. The old contract expired at midnight Saturday, but there was no walkout as negotiations continued yesterday. Now, the agreement covers 37,000 phone company workers, 1,400 of which are in Iowa. Their contract expired late last week. The Des Moines religious community is continuing to speak out against the alleged war crimes in Bosnia. Hundreds of Christians, Jews, and Muslims gathered at the federal building yesterday to denounce reports of murder and inhumane treatment at Bosnian detention camps. The group called for immediate inspections of the camps and a full investigation into the alleged atrocities.
No one man, woman, child, Jews, Christians, Muslims, or even unbelievers, not even animals, deserves to be exterminated.
Religious leaders have been circulating petitions urging the UN to take action. In the last few days, they say they have collected hundreds of those signatures. We do want to check out our forecast. Meteorologist Scott Mayo joins us with a look at weather right after this.
Hey, America, did you know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of America's top 10 selling vehicles are Fords? And now your Ford dealer's saying thanks with the Ford Factory Authorized Clearance. Option package discounts and cash back let you save on every new Ford. Save on Taurus, Explorer, Ranger, Escort, and F-Series pickups. It's the Factory Authorized Clearance with an all-American lineup. Only at your Ford dealer.
Well, our Monday is not that bad, starting off the week on a fairly nice note. Cool temperatures, though, down to 55 for the overnight low. Mostly cloudy now and 58, so we are rising. In terms of temperature, southeast winds at 6 miles an hour. Barometer on the rise. A look at national radar. The summary of all the radars across the nation indicates 2 areas of rain, generally one on the east coast that extends down into Florida, one here in the central part of the country that's going to provide for a little precipitation here late tonight and early tomorrow morning. That is in the forecast. Plenty of moisture out here in the middle Rockies and western plains to work with, but it's a frontal system that's moving in from the north that's going to affect us across Minnesota and North Dakota right now. Plenty of rain showers and thunderstorms up there. And back across the central plains, really just some light rains. Off to the east, an area of high pressure creating some very clear skies right now, but cold temperatures and fog in southern Illinois and Indiana. But for Iowa, some very light fog, cool temperatures, Waterloo down to 49 degrees for their low. Today's forecast looks pretty good. Scattered clouds, 78. Some cool temperatures. Hope you don't mind that. Showers far western part of the state this morning, but eventually dissipating. Tonight, increasing clouds and 61 degrees for the overnight low. So not really as cool as we have seen over the past couple of days. South and northwesterly winds 6 to 13 miles an hour, and as those winds shift, we will see a chance for rain and perhaps a couple of thunder showers. Tuesday's forecast looking okay once again, but still temperatures not very warm. 79 for an afternoon high, partly cloudy skies eventually after we get rid of those morning showers and a northwesterly breeze at 9 to 16. Here's a look at the extended forecast. If you're planning things for this week, eventually, well, temperatures are kind of hover near 80 degrees. Low temperatures eventually pop out of the 50s, well, eventually 57 degrees. That's the forecast.
May I take your order?
Yeah, I'd like a quarter-pound hamburger with ketchup, pickles, no mustard, no onions, please.
That's a special order. Please pull to the side and wait.
Wait?
While others make you wait, Bebop's 2 drive-thru windows keep you moving along no matter what you order. And at Bebop's, our juicy, mouth-watering quarter-pound burgers only 99 cents every day. So stop waiting and start eating. The faster, better burger is the 99-cent quarter-pound burger at Bebop's Double Drive-Thru, East 14th and Euclid.
Live at 5, Central Iowa's #1 afternoon newscast.
Thank you very much, guys. We're back now.
That's the first time I've seen the beard.
Really?
How long did that take? About 5 weeks to grow? I think you look kind of like Rosie Greer.
Thank you very much.
I'm just kidding.
Rosie Greer was 285 pounds.
I'm just
He had
kidding.
me beat by 10 or 15. Anyway, straight ahead in this half hour, we're going to talk with a couple of Time magazine reporters who have authored a book on George Bush's first term in the White House. The title tells you a lot about the tone of the book. It's called Marching in Place.
6 months ago, a prominent member of Detroit society shocked her friends and the community by announcing that she is HIV positive. Her name is Mary Fisher, and on Wednesday night, she will speak to the Republican convention. This morning, we'll talk to Mary about her message.
Okay, 8:31. Let's move on over to the news desk. Once again, Ann Curry was in for Margaret Larson.
All right, thanks, Bryant. The U.S., Britain, and France are planning to ban Iraqi military flights into southern Iraq to protect Shiite groups who have come under recent attack from Iraqis. Meantime, a UN weapons inspection team wound up its assignment in Iraq today without saying whether it got into any of Saddam Hussein's government buildings. The team leader is calling the mission a success with no confrontations. Iraqi officials had declared ministry buildings off limits, and a confrontation with the inspection team may have triggered military action. Today, the curtain rises on the 4-day extravaganza Republicans hope will lead George Bush to victory in November. But an NBC News USA Today survey finds some anxieties among GOP convention delegates. One third say they are not better off than 4 years ago. 15% would dump Dan Quayle from the ticket, and 43% see the president as vulnerable for breaking his vow against new taxes. A reminder about our convention coverage. NBC News will again be working with PBS, with coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. At 10 p.m., convention coverage continues here on NBC. Meantime, a new poll shows Bill Clinton is enjoying a 17-point lead over Bush in the president's home state of Texas. In his own home state, Clinton refused to criticize the president for the threat of force against Iraq. Clinton says he recalls no instance in which an American president used the military for political gain. UN relief teams say they will dispatch more emergency supply convoys to besieged cities in Bosnia today, despite the threat of Serbian gunfire and minefields. Rick Davis has details on the dangerous trip of the first convoy to the city of Gorazda.
The lead vehicle of the UN convoy pushes into Garage Day and enters a hell. For 146 days, the mainly Muslim people of the city have been under day and night Serbian bombardment. This is the first relief convoy to make it through.
You can see. You can see.
The dead and wounded are beyond counting, and whatever the number, it is sure to grow. The Serbian attempt to ethnically cleanse Bosnia goes on, drive the Muslims out, or kill them. The hospital, a 3-year-old girl, shrapnel in her back. A little alcohol is used to cleanse her wound. A touch of local anesthetic, nothing more. For the adults, there is no anesthetic. For weeks, this is how major surgery has been performed. Pain is a way of life here, and thousands have died in pain. The convoy did bring some relief, 10 tons of medical supplies, but even that will not last long in the violence of this place. And the food will only relieve a little hunger, briefly. But the people of Garage Day need something more precious than humanitarian aid. They need peace, and no one seems capable of bringing that. The supplies delivered, the convoy headed back to Sarajevo, but it was a journey long delayed. On a steep mountain road, mines and wired explosives were sighted. The convoy halted for 20 hours until the road could be cleared. Serbians blamed Muslim fighters, Muslims blamed Serbs. The action threatens plans for more convoys. Rick Davis, NBC News, Sarajevo.
It is now 8:34, time for the weather and Willard.
This morning's weather is brought to you by Easy Spirit Shoes. Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker.
I'm a sneaker. I don't know about you if you're a pump. Blountsville, Tennessee is 200 years old. We wish him a very happy birthday. 9 miles from the Virginia-Tennessee border. Here's something pretty ingenious from Butte. Is that right? Butte, Montana. It is a Montana back scratcher. They tell me it is the rib cage of a moose, I think. And he doesn't need it anymore. But see, it works pretty good. Ooh, I think I'm in love. Happy birthday this morning as we scratch our back. Here at NBC, if you don't scratch your own back, you don't get scratched, right? Happy birthday to Maddie Gaylord of Greenville, North Carolina. Outpacing younger people on the dance floor is her byword. Happy birthday, 100, pretty lady. And as we turn the page of life, Joseph Galicchio of Dayton, Ohio. Did I ever tell you more inventions came out of Dayton than any town in America? 105, worked every day until he was 100. And now he still is a part-timer. Happy birthday, Joseph. God bless. I'd like to think it'd be me. I'd like to be able to... I tell you, big dogs don't make it too long. You know that? If you're a little bit weight on you, Charlie, just in case you get plenty of insurance while you're young. Below normal temperatures are the pretty much prognostication for the eastern half of the country, except, you know, down around Florida and the Gulf Coast for the week. Above normal continue. It is just awful out in the west. Dry and hot. Temperatures 98 to 102 degrees in the valleys of California. And some scattered showers expected throughout the plains, the upper Mississippi. Some heavier showers from Texas, Oklahoma. And then again wet east of the Mississippi. But you see that forecast? I mean, that frontal system, it's been here, it seems like since 1937, is beginning to move out. And by Wednesday, we should have a little ray of sunshine from Maine down to Florida again. And some scattered thunderstorms today in the Mississippi Valley, the northern Mississippi, and parts of the central and western plain states all the way down to the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Well, if you're just getting up, a few scattered clouds out there. Our eventual high today should be around 78 degrees with southerly winds. Rain should remain to the west. However, tonight we have an increasing chance of rain showers with more clouds down to 61 tonight, so not as cool.
Well, that's it. That's all there is, and we are so glad to have you back. The team is together again, and we were so proud. You were just fantastic over there.
Thanks, Willard.
Great
it's good to be back.
Great
Thank you. One of the persons who will be addressing the Republican convention this week is a woman named Mary Fisher. Her father is the multimillionaire philanthropist Max Fisher, honorary chairman of the Bush Quayle National Finance Committee. Mary once worked in the Ford White House. She is an artist and the mother of 2 small sons. She is also HIV positive. Recently, our NBC affiliate in Detroit, WDIV-TV, aired a moving documentary based on a journal Mary is keeping for her sons to read someday.
I'm eager to go out in the world with the message that if Mary Fisher can get AIDS, so can you. I'll happily donate time to the causes that can enable me to attend your high school graduation. But I'm also eager to stay home because I'm keenly aware in ways I never imagined of the consequences this illness has had, is having, and will have on our family. We have, all of us, now discovered what hundreds of thousands of American families discovered before us. AIDS does more than kill bodies. It destroys families.
This morning, Mary Fisher is at the convention site in the Houston Astrodome. Good morning, Mary. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Katie. Good morning.
Was it difficult for you, Mary, to convince the Republican Party that you should be able to speak at the National Convention?
No, after I spoke at the platform hearings in May, there was a lot of discussion about my speaking here, and I told them I would certainly be available.
And they were anxious to have you appear?
That's my understanding.
What will your message be, Mary? What do you hope to convey to the people who are attending the convention or watching it on television?
I hope, Katie, that I can make people understand that this is all of our disease, that we as a nation need to respond to this, to AIDS, to HIV. We need to have compassion, and we need to care.
Elizabeth Glazer and Bob Hattoy, I'm sure you know, made very moving speeches at the Democratic National Convention here in New York, and they were quite critical of the administration. Will you be critical of the administration on this issue as well?
I've had nothing but compassion and access of this administration. I have had nothing but love and caring from the President and Mrs. Bush. So I can't imagine that I would be critical. I think that we are all aware that there is much to be done. Much is needed.
Dr. June Osborne, who I understand is a friend of yours, she is also head of the President's AIDS Commission. She called the administration's response to the disease grossly inadequate. Do you agree with her stand?
Katie, I think that there is so much to do because it's an epidemic. We're in the middle of numbers and staggering statistics. So I think that the administration, the government as a whole, the nation, everybody needs to respond with more.
Mary, do you feel as if you're in a bit of an awkward position, that your hands might be tied, that you cannot be as forceful as you would like because you are close personal friends with President and Mrs. Bush, and because you have been afforded the kind of access you have been? Has it made it difficult for you to be a spokesman for the disease?
Well, Katie, I'm HIV positive. I say what I feel, but I also feel that it's important for me to work within the system and work where I do have the access, and that's what's important to me. I feel that I am honest and I am sincere about what I am saying.
The Republican Party's platform has rejected the distribution of needles and condoms, and it says that, quote, AIDS should be treated like any other communicable or sexually transmitted disease. I know you testified, as you mentioned, at the platform hearings back in May. Are you disappointed with the response and with the platform?
Well, I think the platform needs to be, from my point of view, considered as a framework for discussion. I think that the president is the one that is on the ballot, not the platform. And I feel strongly that the Republican Party has accepted AIDS, and now we can work on it.
It's been, I guess, about 6 months since you decided to make that very difficult decision and go public that you are HIV infected. You've been very busy since then, and I know one of the things that you've started is a family AIDS network. I guess it's going to be starting in the fall. Can you tell me what that's all about, Mary?
Katie, I'm hopeful that when it's up and running, we will be able to create support systems around the country, be a catalyst in communities to help families and friends of people infected and affected, create a network and bring more people into the fold. Also, we will probably do a publication monthly, so we will be like a membership organization. But my hope is that what I'd like to do best is network, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do that and be able to connect people to other people so that they can ask for support and get that.
Are you optimistic, Mary, that things will improve, that the public policy will improve towards AIDS as a result of your speech at the convention, and if reelected, the president will in fact heed your call?
Katie, all I can do is throw the rock out and watch what the ripples happen. You know, I don't have any control over it, but it's my hope, and I'm hopeful, and I have a lot of faith.
Mary Fisher, thank you so much. Good luck to you. It's good to see you again.
Katie. Good to see you, too.
And we'll be back with more on Today right after this.
What separates Easy Spirit from other walking shoes is what separates your foot from the ground. Easy Spirit, the most cushioned walking shoes on earth.
Only one adult cereal could be this much fun to eat. Basic 4. A colorful mix of lightly toasted flakes, sweet and tangy fruits, and crunchy nuts. Splash on cold milk and you get something tasty from each of the 4 food groups. Basic 4, the adult cereal. With a taste that never grew up.
Must be the new guy.
Why put up with glasses that just don't fit? LensCrafters has so many ways to fit your snug points. Like snug fit pads that flex to comfortably hug your nose. LensCrafters, better fit for greater comfort in about an hour.
I feel good. I knew that I would. I feel good. I knew that I would. So good, so good, I got you.
Senokot laxative tablets work like second nature. Overnight, Senokot, the natural vegetable laxative. You'll feel so good so soon.
So good, I got you.
From the kitchen of the real Sara Lee.
You have 6 people for dinner and no time to do dessert. What do? Take out a real Sara Lee strawberry cheesecake, swirl chocolate sauce on individual plates, then place a slice of that incredibly rich, silky, smooth cheesecake in the center. And when somebody asks, who made this delicious dessert? Look them straight in the eye and say you did, and mean it.
Nobody does it like Sara Lee. All I need to see, your Rembrandt smile. You make the world a brighter place. I love to see your smiling face. So smile.
Rembrandt Whitening Toothpaste. Over 40,000 dentists recommend it for clinically proven safe whitening.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation to the Bahamas, Caribbean, or Mexican Riviera on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Ordinary pickles are cooked, and most don't snap. Not Clausen. They're packed fresh and stored cold, so they're always crisp and delicious. Taste the difference. Cold, crisp, Clausen.
As President Bush looks to a second term this week in Houston, a new book about his first term is hitting the bookstores. It's called Marching in Place, subtitled The Status Quo Presidency of George Bush. It's co-authored by Time Magazine's White House correspondents Michael Duffy and Dan Goodgame, both of whom are on the convention floor this morning in the Houston Astrodome. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
The status quo presidency, was that the objective of George Bush or the natural end result of someone who tries to be liked by everyone?
Well, it kind of just evolved that way, Brian. They came into office, took a look at the polls, and realized the American public was pretty contented. And the voters didn't really see a lot of problems on the horizon, and so the Bush administration basically said, we don't have to do that much in order to stay popular. And so that was kind of the design of the first term, just get along, do a marginal amount.
George Bush's prime task in Houston this week, Dan, would be what? What would you say?
Well, George Bush has to do what he's done so many times in his political career, Bryant, which is to come back from behind. And he's sort of made a career of being underestimated by his opponents. He was 17 points down to Michael Dukakis 4 years ago. He's got to do something dramatic. He did something dramatic last week in naming Jim Baker as his chief of staff. I think you'll see more of that this week.
If he has to spell out what he intends to do in his second term, having looked at his first, what is he likely to say?
Well, one of the interesting things I think they're trying to decide right now is what they want out of a second term. Most of the speech writing that's going on right now back in Washington is an attempt to come up with a program
I mean, our guess is that they'll come up with they have to at least propose something about the economy. Of course, they've proposed tax cuts before. My guess is they'll re-propose them and try to put them in a new package so they sound new. The problem is he doesn't have a lot of things in the cupboard to go back to now.
Well, I don't mean to make light of it, but help me out here. Could you define for us the core of what Bush has called his vision thing? Is there a core of beliefs, something to which George Bush is committed to, that he's dying to use a second term for?
Probably the most concise way of putting that, Bryant, is that George Bush would like to see America secure enough abroad in terms of national security policy and secure enough at home in terms of crime and the economy so that Americans can do whatever they choose and make their own domestic policy.
That's pretty broad.
Yes, that's his vision.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, I don't think it really lends itself to anything much more specific, and I think that he'll set just those tones on Thursday night, and anything that's more substantive really is probably something that he's throwing out there so that the American public can say, hey, here's something he's for. But I don't think it's going to be in the way of something George Bush really wants to have accomplished by the time he leaves office.
Yeah, Mike, I understand that you guys find it ludicrous and somewhat laughable that George Bush is presenting himself as an agent of change. Why?
Well, you know, when we were researching the book, one of the things we learned was that very early on in this administration, there was a conscious decision taken to do only so much and no more. And by November of 1990, John Sununu, who was then the chief of staff, told a meeting of conservative leaders that, look, we've done everything in this administration we need to do to win re-election. If Congress wants to go home for the next 2 years, it can do so because we don't need them.
Right, and that was 2 years ago. And really, since then, they've really put very little on the table domestically. And now that the public has sort of decided that something needs to be done, the president's trying to refashion himself as an agent of change and saying the only thing that's kept him from making these changes is the Congress, but in fact, he really hasn't been out there for 2 years proposing anything.
Yeah, a procession of Republicans are going to try to make the case this week that George Bush's problems are to be blamed on the Democratic Congress. As an excuse, how's that wash, to your mind?
Well, go ahead, Dan.
One of the things that Jim Baker is going to bring to this campaign is a toning down of the blaming, the petulance, sometimes sounding whiny, you see in the president, blaming Congress, blaming the press, sometimes even blaming the public for not understanding that the economy is growing. And they'll refashion the congressional part of it to say, look, folks, this is what we believe, and if you would give us a Congress that sees the economy and the domestic policy the same way, this is what we could accomplish, to try and make it positive instead of blaming.
Yeah. The book is Marching in Place, The Status Quo Presidency of George Bush. Dan Goodgame, Michael Duffy. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
It's 8:51. We're back in a moment right after this.
Okay, all you baseball know-it-alls, it's time for the WHO TV 13 and Wendy's Baseball Sports Quiz. Every Sunday from August 9th through the 30th, I'll ask a baseball trivia question during Sunday night's News Center 13 at 10. Go to your participating Wendy's, pick up a form, and register your answer. The winner will be announced on the following Fridays, live at 5. Winners each week will receive one night stay at the Park Place Hotel in Kansas City and tickets to see a Kansas City Royals game. So step up to the plate, Central Iowa, and prove your baseball trivia knowledge.
1 Hour Optical uncovers an eyewear special to let you be good to your eyes. Get a professional eye exam free with your purchase of eyewear. Or bring your doctor's prescription and take $35 off your frames. You'll have everything in just an hour. That is, if you can make up your mind among the many designer frames available at 1 Hour Optical. Locally owned 1 Hour Optical has everyday low prices on eyewear you'll love. Get your free eye exam now and be good to your eyes.
Can your secretary compete with your secretary, the unique secretarial service? Let's find out. Who doesn't mind too much work? Who answers your phone? Who never gets sick? Who has most projects done in 24 hours? Who makes coffee? Who addresses greeting cards and calligraphy free? Who does filing? Who provides free pickup and delivery? Who greets visitors? Who can cover for you better? Looks like you need both of them. For temporary and permanent secretarial services and more, call your secretary.
Ladies and gentlemen, summer has officially arrived. For 50 years, great summers have started with rich, creamy Meadow Gold ice cream, the official sponsor of summer.
The town where the Republicans are convening this week is every bit as colorful and volatile as Texas towns are supposed to be. As NBC's Jim Cummins reports, whether it's good times or bad, Houston is never dull.
Houston, boom or bust. It's the only American city that has always been associated with one or the other. The last boom came in the early 80s when oil was selling for $36 a barrel. Optimism abounded. Gleaming high-rises were built. Joe Shaughnessy remembers those high times.
People were buying bodies from other companies, stealing, and it gave everybody a false sense of security. The people that were accustomed to making $50,000 a year found themselves making $75,000, $80,000 a year.
The last bust came in the mid-'80s when oil was selling for $12 a barrel. 220,000 people lost their jobs. The bottom fell out of the real estate market. Billions were owed on those gleaming high-rises to banks and savings and loans. That led to the now infamous S&L crisis. The government's Resolution Trust Corporation, RTC, came in here and began selling real estate at a discount to recover some of those losses. And today, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
On August 27th, another RTC milestone event will take place.
It is a milestone because this time the RTC is selling the building it occupies. Another sign the bust is over. But this recovery is different. In 1981, oil and gas accounted for 80% of Houston's economy. Today, it's about half that, 42%. The economy is more diversified, high-tech, like Compact Computers, which employs 8,000 people now. Compact founder Rod Canyon.
Houston leaders realized that when the energy industry went down so fast that Houston had to diversify. We were so dependent on an area that was very weak and not likely to fully recover.
Back bedroom?
Yeah.
So Joe Shaughnessy, who was here during the last boom and left after the last bust, is moving back to Houston. He works for a company in Cleveland that has declared bankruptcy. Shaughnessy asked to be transferred here in case he loses his job as an operations manager.
I figure the Houston job market offers a lot more potential than the Cleveland area.
In what ways?
But it's a younger town. People are given a lot more opportunity at younger ages than they are up in the Northeast, in the Midwest.
Now, Houston's economy is in sync with the rest of the country, which means this city is also struggling to bounce back from the latest recession. But anyone here will tell you a recession seems like nothing after a lifetime of boom and bust. For today, Jim Cummins, NBC News, Houston.
And we're back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
25 years ago, we started as a great mattress store, and today, Slumberland is that and much, much more. Come celebrate our 25th anniversary sale and find our lowest price ever on a complete top-grain leather group. Leather sofa, chair, ottoman, coffee table, and 2 end tables. All 6 pieces, just $9.99. Plus, get a free airfare certificate for 2 to Orlando with qualifying purchase. Slumberland Furniture. We'll show you more. We'll save you more than ever before.
Sometimes the best way to get things rolling is to get back to basics. All across America, people are rolling up their sleeves and going back to school. And at Walmart, we're rolling up our sleeves and rolling back prices on hundreds of items for back to school to save you money. Whether you're shopping for the new kid or an old pro, get back to basics. Get back to school. Get back to savings with Walmart. Always the low price, always.
Sometimes
Mom, is that you?
it's not easy
Is that you, dear?
to get the hairstyle you're after. But the stylists at Yonkers Beauty Salon give you exactly the look you want by listening ever so carefully. And then they make it happen with Revlon's Great Feeling Perm, regularly $52, now only $35, including cut, shampoo, and style. Call the Yonkers Beauty Salon for your $35 Great Feeling Perm appointment.
Hot Springs Spa is bubbling with excitement. Hot Springs Spas are stealing the show.
Visit the Iowa State Fair now and discover why Hot Spring Spas is bubbling with excitement. The warm, penetrating massage of Hot Spring Portable Spas is stealing the show.
Hot Spring Spas is bubbling with excitement.
Start to a very eventful week.
Yeah, it's a great week to be back.
Yeah, you may be going down to Houston, in fact.
That's right, on Wednesday to interview the Vice President and hopefully Mrs. Bush as well.
See what Mrs. Bush has
I haven't
to say.
even unpacked my bags and I'm going away again.
What do you mean? You got back a week ago.
No, I got back on Friday.
Oh.
You need to get your things straight, baby. I was gone 4 weeks. I got back on Friday.
You've got so many social secretaries.
I leave and he gets everything wrong. What are we going to do?
Don't go away.
That's right. Okay. Well.
That does it for us on this day. We got to get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good Monday.
She's back.
Meet Gilligan, the professor, and Mary Ann, too.
Good gossip, yep.
A Gilligan's Island reunion on the next Closer Look.
They get off the island in this one.
Even if you're Rookie of the Year one year and make the All-Star...
Reagan, as I said, is going to be speaking tonight